Hey guys, so today I want to talk a bit about unsolicited advice and why it is never warranted, never welcomed. It should always be discouraged. When people give advice, always consider the source, and if it's not solicited, take it with less than a grain of salt. Before I continue on and elaborate, I'll say, hey, if you are hiring somebody to consult with, specifically to guide you on a particular path or help you with decisions, then absolutely there is a time and a place for advice when you are seeking it out. Other than that, really unsolicited advice is unwarranted, unneeded, and really unproductive. Now first, before I go on, let's identify the reasons. Typically there are three reasons why people give unsolicited advice. Now it's important to differentiate between these three reasons as well. Start with reason number one. It's an actual sense of concern for your well-being or the decisions you're making. Typically that sense of concern stems from their own experiences in life. Perhaps the path that they've walked and the knowledge that they've accumulated throughout their life, or perhaps they're even in a similar situation to the one that you're in or you're moving toward, and they genuinely feel a concern for your well-being, so they're offering their suggestions to you based off of the decisions they've made. Now, there's a problem with that. It's simple. Their life is their life, your life is your life. You two have walked entirely different paths that have led you to the path that you're on right now, so no two sets of circumstances are ever entirely the same. They're all unique. But anyway, typically it's easy to identify when they are genuine. They'll often come at you and say, may I offer you a suggestion? Or do you care to hear my thoughts on the topic? It genuinely does come from a sincere perspective. Now, this is the least harmful type of advice to get. This is typically issued out of your well-being, but again, it's important to identify reasons why this should never be warranted. Really consider the source. You know, for example, let's give the first guy who ever broke the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister. And in his attempt to break the 4-minute mile, he was told multiple times by doctors, by scientists, even by his peers, that what he is pursuing is impossible. Breaking the 4-minute mile is an impossible feat, and it is medically and scientifically not possible. Now, if he would have heeded their advice, we wouldn't have had a record broken back when it was broken. Another piece of advice is, people who often try to deter you from doing something that they feel is detrimental to yourself. And another example I really like to give is the founder of the Quest bar, the nutrition company Quest. That Tom Bilyeu, who founded that bar many years ago, he spent so much time focusing on creating this supplement line, this nutrition line. He had his friends and his family telling him in his ear, he's wasting his time, he's focusing too much on this, and here we are now, and he's sold that company for $1 billion, and he's now worth hundreds of $millions in net profit based off of his investments into what he was pursuing. So again, you really need to consider that everybody walks different avenues of life, and no two sets of circumstances are entirely the same. We're all unique. The second reason people give unsolicited advice is it gives them a sense of self-control or self-importance rather, and a sense of control. For example, I know best. This is temporarily said with a pompous attitude and, a greater or holier than thou dialogue. Oftentimes people will give you some sort of a snide remark said with a condescending tone. It gives them a sense of self-importance. So be it. Again, consider the source. Third reason, jealousy. Simple. Perhaps they're jealous of what you're pursuing. They're jealous of the success you've created for yourself, and they subconsciously or even consciously want to see you fail. This is the most detrimental type of advice ever, and I wouldn't even call this advice. This is pure jealousy, and jealousy breeds resentment, often spoken with a condescending and arrogant tone, never intended for your success and well-being. So with all that said, in my opinion, from my perspective, there's never a place for unsolicited advice. If you feel that you need guidance in any particular avenue of life, by all means, seek it out. If anybody ever offers their 2 cents unsolicited, please consider the source and stick to your values and never lose sight of your identity based off of what somebody else deems acceptable or appropriate in your life.